welcome to Alumni Spotlight, a production where we learn more about past students who've graduated from Bates Technical College. I'm your host, Josh Ham, and today we're talking with student alumni Ian Dwyer, who is a part of the broadcasting and video production program. We're excited to learn more about his journey here at Bates, as well as how his education has helped him prepare for success in the broadcasting and media industry. Ian, thank you for joining us. Thanks for carving out some time to be with us today.
Happy to do it, Josh.
Well, you graduated about what time? When was that?
2025, last year.
2025. So not too long ago.
No.
Are you a Tacoma native, or where are you from originally?
So I actually grew up in Prescott, Arizona, and I grew up there until I was about 19. It was kind of a more rural place, and then it kind of got a little bit more city. But I spent a lot of time in nature, and then actually that's where I kind of began my video journey. My friends and I in high school, we actually got together. We produced 3 episodes of a public access television show called This Is Important.
Cool.
And that was always awesome. It was just a great kind of introduction into the field and kind of a DIY kind of thing.
Awesome. So you kind of dove into it in high school.
Yeah.
And you go from Arizona to Washington. A little bit of a difference.
I went to Arizona back and forth from Washington a couple of times, actually. My parents moved up here, and then I moved back down for my friends.
Okay.
I tried a bunch of different things out too. Actually, my first job, I was a union butcher for a while. Then I worked as a spa tech, and eventually I became an EMT for a while. But that didn't really work out for me. So eventually I, ended up here.
Wow. So, butcher, EMT tech, and you also mentioned that you kind of tried out another program here and landed here in the video production program.
Yeah.
Broadcast.
Actually, I was thinking my EMT profession wasn't going well. It wasn't like vibing with me, like mentally. So I decided, let's make a change. And I'm like, computer science, that's something where I feel like I'd be successful in. But I went to the program, the instructors were great, the program was great, but I just didn't feel that passion for it. I wasn't really happy. So I started looking around at other options Bates had, and lo and behold, there's this beautiful studio right next door. And the whole thing kind of grabbed me, and I kind of fell in love with it.
That's cool. So as somebody who was here for the first time, they just enrolled, what would they expect or maybe not expect when it comes to being a part of this program as somebody that's newly enrolled?
I think production can feel like a lot in the beginning. You're thrown in, there's all these different technical aspects, there's all these different timing aspects, there's all these different small minutia that you have to learn. But I think that not trying to eat the whole elephant at the same time is really what you got to go for. Just try out different pieces of it, Figure it out, throw yourself in there. You might be uncomfortable, but that's where all the real learning happens, Like, really use this space to its full advantage.
So when you think about your experiences using this space to its full advantage, what kind of experience would you say that you can look back on that really propelled you, when you're here in the program? Was there anything specifically that you kind of dove into? I know that you talked about you maximized your time here.
Yeah.
That was a part of it. You had that mindset.
Yeah. I think a big part of it was, throwing myself into directorial positions or just trying stuff that I really didn't think I could do, but I'm like, I'm going to try this out anyways. I think a big part of Bates, especially here, is really just kind of being willing to fail and being willing to learn from those experiences. You got to roll with the punches. You're not going to get everything initially, but you get 1% better every day. And I think the best part about production is you do the production, you make whatever mistakes you make on it, then you go home, you go to bed, you come back, there's a new production here, and each day is like that, every time you just get a new opportunity and a new opportunity to be better. And I think that it finally came when I finally actually got to direct a large-scale production with the Hannah Cup. I think that was really the turning point where I'm like, dang, I could really do this, I could really maybe direct a large-scale production out in the world now, So
I love that. I think we have something that we can show on the screen too. So, if our viewers weren't aware what the Hannah Cup was, this was a nationwide pool tournament where students would be here, high schoolers, and 3-day show, and it was fully produced by students. And so We have here we see you. You're dressed the full nine.
Yeah. That was at the Nodis Awards.
Yeah.
We did win an award for
student production.
Yeah, the student production award for that one, and. I'm like, I see the Emmy backdrop, and I'm like, you know what? I gotta take full advantage of this.
I love that.
And so, I got in a kind of a, I'm like,
the pose.
Yeah, kind of a fun little pose, But overall, I think that was another big milestone in my career. And I think that I said this at the Nodis, but a production's made up of a lot of small parts, and it's like. I also said this during the speech, is that like the director might be the brain of the operation, but a brain can't function without a working heart,
really good.
lungs, a liver. And that's what all these different production elements are. Yeah. Like each and every single person that makes up a production, all these people on camera here, all those people back there right now,
that's right.
Like helping us out. If one of those elements fails, then the whole thing kind of falls by the wayside. So I have infinite respect for my teammates. I have infinite respect for all the people who work hard to put something together. Like we're all a team at the end of the day, I don't think one person gets all the credit for anything in production.
That's good. And that's one thing that I really, years ago when I got into production, I love that aspect of the team. Together, everyone achieves more.
Exactly.
Right? That team mentality, that team acronym. Mm-hmm. So, and egos kind of go out the door.
Yeah. Especially that moment-to-moment thing,
right?
It's like it's hard to really impose your will and ego when like you got 5 seconds to hit a cue, and then you got to switch a camera. Your brain just kind of gets absorbed into the process, and I think that I found a lot of peace in that actually, just being able to just push yourself into this thing and like completely kind of lose yourself a little bit.
Fully immersive.
Yeah, the flow.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's good. Was there, when you think about your education here, your time here at Bates, was there like a mentor or somebody that you can kind of think about that really made an impact on your life?
I gotta say, my initial instructor, Ken Whitco. When I first talked to him, I felt this like fire and this passion, and the way he directed too. He'd be going off, and he would sometimes be a little loud, but I think that was just his passion for excellence kind of coming out. And then overall, just a lot of the students that were above me. There's a guy named Malachi. He was 17, and I was 29 when I came into this. But he had so much more knowledge than me, and he was so willing to share it. Another guy, Eric, too. Caden, he's a high school student actually at the time, but his technical knowledge was amazing. I actually work with him now at the Rainiers.
Caden?
Yeah, and he still helps me pretty much daily trying to figure stuff out. So you really got to take in all the experience that you have, all this institutional knowledge that you get with the program, and just, like you said, you got to push
immersive, just dive into it.
Yeah, push ego out the door and just be willing to listen.
Yeah, that's good. I love that. Can you share a little bit more about the projects? You mentioned the Hannah Cup. That was last summer. Won the Student Production Award there. What other projects come to mind that you're really proud of?
So I gotta say, like all the live productions that we do at Bates outside, the Holiday Food and Gift Festival, Golden Gloves, any of the high school football, volleyball, basketball, any of those types of productions, I feel like getting out into like the real world and just figuring that stuff out was just, I had so much pride in everyone, seeing everyone come together and like in a real environment. Mysteries of History was another one. That one was a lot of fun. I produced that with Josh and Scott and Travis. And, it was, I spent a week reading up on the Mary Celeste. I went to the library. And then just being able to kind of, I guess, portray an expert on screen was a lot of fun after designing the whole thing. So I think a lot of the productions in my advanced production year were some of the ones I was most proud of.
Yeah, that's cool. Every production has, everyone that's been in this role in production for a while has some funny memories and funny stories.
Yeah.
Is there one that you can kind of think of when it comes to like a funny behind the scenes story that you can kind of go to and like, oh man, I don't know what I was doing in that moment?
Actually, so one Halloween, I was like, okay, I'm going to dress up. It's going to be fun. But I was the only one who dressed up. I was dressed up as a wizard, and someone took that picture of just everyone dressed perfectly normal and just me standing back there as a wizard. I was directing that day too.
That's great.
So sitting there in my curly shoes and my wizard hat and just directing the whole thing was it was a little surreal, Also, I noticed you guys got the jib up today. I was trying to figure out how that thing worked because, something that's great about baits is that you can kind of just figure out, you can kind of come in here and test stuff out. I got a scan converter and I duct taped it to the side of the jib, realizing that was completely unnecessary. And Ace comes out and is like, one of our instructors, and he's like, Ian, what are you doing? It's like, just do it this way. You don't need to do it like that. But that moment of being like, okay, in that moment I learned like, okay, maybe I don't need a scan converter for these specific situations.
Yeah, you're just trying.
Yeah, exactly.
You're trying to make things happen.
You're trying stuff,
Yeah.
You're like, I'm gonna make it work with the tools I have, and that's a lot of times that's production too.
That's good.
You got an hour to figure stuff out, and you gotta just figure out a solution that works.
Well, before we go to break, is there like one memory that you really have a favorite memory when it comes to this thing or this production or your role or a person? What would that look like for you?
I think as far as like an advanced production when I was about to leave, I think seeing the students under me, and I mean having a like limited time like for mentorship, just seeing them like really grow into their own as far as production goes, like beginning to direct, beginning to kind of find their voice in production. I think anytime I see a student like go above and beyond and like figure out like, hey, I have this voice, I can do this, like I can be in charge, like it's so cool to see. It's like, because you see them come in and they're like, like I was like confused and I was like, I don't know if I really want to do this. This is stressful, this is weird, I feel weird. And then, you see the same growth in other people and it's just indescribable. It's something that's really awesome.
Yeah, that's cool. I love just the fact that I've heard this, to be successful is to help other people become successful and to see their success, right?
Yeah.
It's not something that we just do on our own. And so I love the fact that you're looking at other people in the classroom, you're seeing probably a little part of yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
And you've kind of experienced that as well, and you're seeing them grow and thrive. So thank you, Ian. Those are really great points, and thank you for sharing all the great information. And we're gonna go to a quick commercial break right now, and then we're gonna come right back to hear more of Ian's story. Stay tuned, we'll be right back. Welcome back to Alumni Spotlight. I'm your host, Josh Ham, and we're back here with Ian Dwyer, a graduate from the BVP program. Thank you so much, Ian. In this next segment, as I look back, we talked about kind of your development here, what you've learned, and some of the key moments you experienced and the funny moments as well.
Yeah.
We all have those, right?
Yeah.
And moments where you really learned and you grew. And I think a lot of that is a part of a mindset. And what I want to kind of shift to really quickly here is, where'd that mindset come from when it comes to not looking at things as failure? I know that you're involved in martial arts.
Yes.
Where does that come from?
So I do Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at a place called Defiance Jiu-Jitsu. I'm under a coach named Jesse Bardesian, a very incredibly talented black belt. And in Jiu-Jitsu, you got to get crushed for like 6 months before you really get it. And it's at the beginning, you just feel like you're drowning because you're getting crushed under a 300-pound purple belt. You're trying to get out, and it's like, I have no idea what I'm doing with my limbs. But over time, you start to realize, like, every time you go in, you're like, hey, I get a little better. I realize, I'm like, okay, I kind of understand this sweep a little more, or I understand this position. And it kind of mirrors like probably one's journey in production. You kind of start to figure stuff out over time. And like, it's like in production, you have a role, which is what we call sparring. You have a role, you do good, and then you think about, okay, what can I do better? And then you leave that there, you go home, you go to bed, you come back the next day, and you roll again. And it's a whole new thing, even with the same partner, it's a whole new thing. And you're always learning in that. I think that my coach says always keep a white belt mentality. And you really have to do that, just in life. Just always being willing to learn, always kind of putting your ego aside and being like, there's stuff that I don't know out there. How can I advance myself? How can I advance my knowledge? And then finally, I'd like to say his motto, which is a rising tide lifts all boats. And I think that's really important in production too, is you have to lift up everyone on the team. Because if you start tearing people down, you're going to find yourself on an island, and you cannot do a production on an island. Right. Let me tell you that. So, just being able to. Also there's the roughhousing aspect too. As adults, we don't get a lot of time to roughhouse.
Sure.
So it's like, it's like we're in a place like, yeah, I agree. I'm going to throw you to the ground, and I'm going to simulate breaking your limbs. Right. And we're cool with that. Yeah. And so it's great for letting off tension. It's great for building up a strong mindset.
Yeah, that's good. And I think that's, as I reflect on that conversation we just had in the first segment, that's probably where some of that mindset comes from, is some of your training. So since graduating, post-graduation, life looks a little bit different for you.
Oh, yeah.
You're not in the classroom all the time.
No.
But you're actually, and here, we're not in the classroom all the time either.
Yeah.
We're a lot of time in lab.
Oh, yeah.
But fast forward to today, what kind of projects in the industry are keeping you busy today?
So I started out after graduating. I did an internship with the Rainiers initially, and that was really helpful to kind of get my foot in the door. But then I worked for TVW for the legislative session for 3 months.
In Olympia?
Yeah, in Olympia. That was pretty great because you kind of got to get involved in all aspects of production. They have a whole studio, much like ours in there. They have a fly kit, going out and getting interviews and stuff like that. But I did mostly PTZ production, like pan tilt zoom camera, robotic camera production. And then after that, I moved on. I called up Anthony Finney. He's the director at the Rainiers right now, and I'm like, hey, can you give me another shot? And he was like, sure. And I started working camera there, and then eventually Malachi, actually, one of my mentors. He's moved to Costa Rica, and they were like, okay, well, the legacy operator for camera 6, which is the big Steadicam mount, is out. So how about you give it a try? And I'm like, this thing is big. It's, it's got all these moving parts. It's a little awkward. I'm like, I don't know if I can do this, but I'm like, I thought about baits, and I'm like, I might be uncomfortable, but they're giving me a shot. And so I went, I put on this thing like Malachi taught me.
The whole thing.
Yeah, and then, I learned that. And then, eventually, actually, recently, I got to shoot a Cal Raleigh.
Wow.
Yeah, and that was, right place, right time, really.
Major League Baseball player at the Rainiers.
But just getting to be in the dugout, just getting those shots, and just I was like, dang, maybe I can. It's like those little moments. You're like, dang, I can actually do this, And then now they're just throwing me on whatever. I do color correction. There's me on the field, running on the field after a Cal Raleigh home run.
Super cool.
And then
Steadicam.
On that Steadicam mount.
Cool.
And they're throwing me on color correction, on graphics. Actually, I got to go in alone a couple of times and do a lot of like smaller productions.
Okay.
Like I ran a baseball camp there.
Okay.
And I controlled video board and sound and helped them out on there. And so that's been a really big part of my growth is working with the Rainiers and just applying the skills that I've learned. And then there's always something to learn and there's always something to get better at. So just, continuing my education and work.
Right. And I love the fact that you said, saying yes to opportunities in the classroom and here in the program, and then that also transfers over to the industry.
Yep.
When somebody presents you an opportunity, you have two options, yes or no.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, if they're giving you a shot, they already think that you can do it, And it's like, and then if you mess up, oftentimes I find that our own mistakes we amplify.
So true.
And it's like you mess up there, and it's like you might be thinking about that one pan that you missed all night. But then you realize the fans didn't think about it. The viewers didn't think about it. It's just in your own head, And so just being able to accept those small parts and those little kind of learning experiences. And because, if they're offering it to you, they think you can do it. So it's like, you should think you can do it too.
That's right.
So say yes.
Yeah.
Say yes.
I love that. I think sometimes it takes somebody that sees something in us more than we see in ourselves.
Exactly.
Right? Somebody actually has a different viewpoint and perspective.
And they can actually it can inspire you to be a lot better,
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. So outside of work, you talked about martial arts. Is it called Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu?
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, yeah.
Anything else that people need to know about you when it comes to, maybe the outdoors or anything else that you're interested in?
Yeah, I'm an avid backpacker. And I'm gonna tell you that helps the camera 6 because, you got 35 pounds. That's how much the rig weighs. That's about your ideal weight for your backpack, and a lot of thigh strength,
Yeah.
And so backpacking is I find a lot of peace in it. Going out there, I call it the good silence because there's peace and quiet when you live in a town, but there's always that kind of buzz, But you get out there, you get past everything.
No light pollution.
No light pollution, nothing. And you get that good silence. It really gives you time to think. Also, I do graphic design for my wife's business. She's a doula. She has a business called Northwest Postpartum.
Awesome.
And I do the graphic design for her, the website. And I also help her think about content creation, which is something that also I learned from here. And good graphic design, building graphics in here and stuff like that really gave me a great jumping off point to kind of figure out what looks good. How do people market themselves in a production environment, and how can I apply that to your business? And then for fun, I make little music edits. I did one to the movie Predator 2, which is to an electronic song, and so just stuff that I can kind of practice my editing a little bit when I'm not editing. Stuff like that.
Yeah, that's good. You're a man of many facets.
I try to be a Renaissance man. Like life is a deep cup, and you got to drink deeply of it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Yeah, good word, man. Well, what would you tell potential students that are interested in this program? What would you tell them if they're kind of thinking about joining or not joining, or they're like, yeah, I want to do this? What would you tell them if you had that conversation right now?
I mean, first of all, this is a cool thing to do. This skill set is, number one, it's a trade. So it's something that you absorb the skills and you can kind of bring them everywhere and apply them to a lot of different places.
Yeah.
So, you're not just learning a specific operating system or a specific a set of ways to do things. It is a wide skill set that you can apply to a lot of different areas and that you can bring a lot of different places. I think also, don't be afraid, Don't be afraid of your own potential. You can do this. It's just going to take hard work. It's just going to take perseverance. And then, just accepting that you're going to have failures, and a better word for failures, learning experiences.
Right.
You're going to have learning experiences that you might feel deeply, but you need to absorb them. You need to overall use it to be better.
Embrace it.
Yeah. And then I would say, if there's open labs, get in here and like figure stuff out. Because, you know, I once spent 3 hours with a guy back there, Cameron, figuring out how to take scan lines off of a specific shot. Little did we know it was a single setting on the switcher. one setting.
Right.
And yet we spent this time figuring stuff out, and I realized in that time I figured out, okay, there's signal flows. And I'm like, okay, how's the signal flowing? At what point could the signal like be messing up? And so I had to think about, where's this coming from? Where's it going? How does this patch bay work, you know? So in 3 hours of failure, I was really learning the whole time. And it's like,
it's good.
It's a huge studio. You know, it's a expensive equipment. Like, you're not going to get this anywhere else.
So
you know?
true.
Yeah.
So we're going to be wrapping this up here pretty soon, Ian, about a minute or so. But what are some of your big dreams? What's next for you?
So I'd like to move on to professional sports.
Okay.
I think that's maybe a little bit more sustainable, you know, for the wallet, and also, you know, it's kind of the next step up. You know, they kind of demand a higher quality.
Yeah.
And then overall, just integrating myself into the kind of broadcasting video production community around here. I think that it's important. Like, I think your reputation as far as a professional is important. So building that reputation, and then eventually, you know, I'd like to get into mentorship myself, like helping guide new people in the industry, helping people who are already in the industry figure stuff out. And like I said, a rising tide raises all boats. You know, building all that stuff up, and just building up the people around me.
That's good. I love that. Man, you gave us so much information here. Thank you for sharing just about kind of what your world looks like, what it looked like when you were a student, what it looks like today. And I know that people are going to be watching this video for years. And they're going to be learning from this, and they're going to be able to embrace and really feel like they have a shot in this industry. So thank you, Ian, for your time. Really, really appreciate it.
Take the risk. Do it.
Well, for everyone watching, this has been a BVP production from the students at the Broadcast Video Production Program here at Bates Technical College. And if you'd like more information about Bates Technical College, and especially this program, please visit www.batestech.edu/broadcast. I've been your host, Josh Ham, and thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you next time right here on BVP Spotlight.